Hello, everyone. Good evening and welcome to the first Mary's Meals UK Family Hour of 2021. My name is Daniel Adams and I'm the Executive Director of Mary's Meals here in the UK, and it's a pleasure to be back with you through this format live on YouTube, which many of you kindly let us know you greatly enjoyed and appreciated throughout 2020. I hope this year's Family Hours will prove similarly uplifting and informative about the work of Mary's Meals during 2021. If you have any comments or questions you'd like to ask me or any of our guests throughout our Family Hour, please do just pop them into the YouTube live chat and we'll hopefully be able to get to all of them before we sign off tonight. When we began with these online events, which are designed to bring together the Mary's Meals family of supporters, particularly in the UK, but also very happily from other parts of the world too, we were in the midst of our first COVID-19 pandemic lockdown. Almost a year on from that very first Family Hour, the mood feels very, very different. At least it does to me. Yes, of course, the spectre of COVID-19 is not yet fully behind us. And yes, there are still, unfortunately, parts of the world where cases are again rising in an alarming fashion. But at the same time, there's a definite sense of a new springtime emerging all around us as vaccination programs continue to roll out and ramp up and lockdown restrictions go on gradually being eased. So please God, this will continue to be our direction of travel over the next several months. At this stage, I'm even allowing myself to imagine that the return of in-person Mary's Meals events might not be too far away, whether it's community screenings of our films, or public talks by our amazing community volunteers, or fundraising events like bake sales and fun runs and lemonade stands and book stalls and coffee mornings and afternoon teas. And well, the list of Mary's Meals fundraising initiatives is endless. Of course, I'm hoping for the return of these events will happen as soon as possible so that we can again spread the word about Mary's Meals in person and help with raising funds to reach more hungry children. But I also just want us all to be together again in our local communities, meeting in fellowship and in friendship and in mutual purpose and in the passionately shared belief that no child should go hungry in this world of plenty. It's great to have developed new virtual ways of communicating and staying in touch during this pandemic, and I'm sure they're going to remain with us. But there really is no substitute for being physically together with our fellow human beings, is there? So let's permit ourselves to hope that all of this is now not too far off and perhaps even begin to make fresh plans and preparations with a quiet confidence that they'll shortly be able to come to fruition. That's what we've been doing in a few regards recently. We've been hoping and preparing that for our shops across Scotland, our charity shops, to be able to hopefully open, and also for our backpack warehouse in Glasgow that receives backpacks filled with educational items from all across the UK to send out to Malawi during normal times. And that's been closed, and our shops have been closed for a long time, but we've been planning and preparing in the background for them hopefully reopening, and that's going to happen from next Monday in line with lockdown restrictions easing. So please God, there'll be more examples like that where we'll be getting back to some version of normality very soon. And for us at Mary's Meals, the sense of a new springtime beginning to bud and blossom around us was accentuated recently by the wonderful announcement that despite the huge challenges created by the pandemic in our programmes countries, and despite the financial hardships being faced by so many of our supporters, Mary's Meals is now feeding 1,838,859 children with a nutritious meal every school day. I repeat, 1,838,859 hungry children across 19 of the world's poorest countries ate our meals today. Children who would otherwise be working, begging, or even in some circumstances foraging for food just to survive. This means that since the beginning of 2020, instead of our very worst fears about this terrible pandemic and its potential negative impact on our work being realised, we've actually been able to welcome an additional 171,792 children into the Global Mary's Meals school feeding programme. All since last year, all since just before the pandemic began. Isn't that just amazing? Amazing. Together, we kept our promise to those children we were already feeding pre-pandemic, and actually through these months have added a further 171,000. Thanks be to God. And thanks be to you, our incredible and generous supporters, for making this possible and for ensuring that so many little ones living in poverty know where their next meal is coming from. And of course, that they're encouraged to go to school as well, where they can receive an all-important education. Amid that joyous news and also great optimism that we're trying to have about the future, I do also just want to acknowledge, though, the particularly horrifying circumstances which people in a number of countries in which Mary's Meals works are currently facing. In the Tigray region of Ethiopia, months of brutal fighting have forced hundreds of thousands of people to flee their homes, and many are now living in fear of starvation. And your generous response to our Crisis in Ethiopia appeal, which was launched some months ago now, means that our courageous colleagues on the ground there have already been able to provide vital food parcels to many of those in need over these last months. But unfortunately, there's no end in sight to the conflict, with harrowing atrocities and alleged war crimes having been widely reported. Then there's Myanmar, where Mary's Meals also works, and where many hundreds of people have been killed in pro-democracy protests since the military seized control of the country earlier this year. And in Haiti as well, where we feed 50,000 little ones. Gang violence and kidnappings are reported to be reaching a terrifying new scale there. And also in countries like South Sudan and Madagascar, at the moment there's a particular heightened concern about emergency levels of food insecurity developing. So we should indeed be people of hope and people of optimism, and hopefully that springtime I talked about really will come to fruition over the months ahead, and we'll start to emerge properly from this pandemic. But as well as being people of hope, we also need to continue being people of action in response to such pain and suffering. And that's not only through raising awareness and funds for our work, and I really do just thank you so much for what you're enabling us to achieve in these countries I've mentioned and in others, but also through the power of prayer. And coming up tonight on Family Hour, we're going to hear all about a new initiative which can support those of us who choose to pray for the work of Mary's Meals in doing so. And that initiative is called Pray in May. Pray in May. So it's focused on the month of May. And perhaps we'll keep nations like Ethiopia, Myanmar, Haiti, South Sudan, and Madagascar particularly in mind while we're praying at this very difficult time for their people. So also coming up tonight on Family Hour, my lovely colleague Emma will speak to some brilliant supporters of ours across the UK about what they've been doing to support our mission recently. But before that, I'm really pleased that our first Family Hour guest of 2021 joins us from Mary's Meals' largest programme country. So please give it a few seconds, but welcome Naomi Malunga, who's Communications Manager for Mary's Meals in Malawi. Naomi, Muli Bwanji, can you hear me?
Hi, Daniel.
How are you? Good to see you.
I'm good, thanks. How are you?
I'm very well, thank you.
Likewise.
Very well. We've got a slight delay on the line, but we'll just cope with it. So bear with me if the delay causes a problem on your side.
It's fine.
Great. Good stuff. It's really, really lovely to see you again, Naomi. Just to get us started, would you mind just telling those who are watching Family Hour tonight what your job is with Mary's Meals in Malawi, and also how long have you been working with Mary's Meals now?
Okay, I've been with Mary's Meals for almost 6 years now. I joined in 2015, and by then the program was quite small, I can say. But for the years that I've been with Mary's Meals, it's grown enormously. And my work normally involves collecting studies and photographs, videos, which I share with my colleagues in MMI Communications Department. And this content is shared among various platforms.
Yeah, that's a really crucial role, isn't it? Because it's reporting back to those people who support our work on exactly what we've used their funding to do, and also just to share the stories of all of those children that we're feeding. As you say, when you first began working with Mary's Meals, the program was much smaller. And back in 2002, Malawi was, of course, the first country we ever served Mary's Meals in, to just 200 children in the township of Chilimoni back then. So it was 219 years ago now. Can you give us just a sense of the scale of Mary's Meals in Malawi today, and also how it's geographically distributed within the country?
Okay, when I joined in 2015, Mary's Meals was feeding 814 children across Malawi, that's in all regions, and we're feeding in about 650 something schools. But now, come 2021, we're feeding to more than 1 million children across Malawi and in more than 900 primary schools. So you can see from 200 in 2002 when it began to now, 2020, to 1 million, it's quite enormous.
Yeah, that is amazing, and it's, I think, something like 30% of the primary school population in Malawi are now receiving Mary's Meals, which is an incredible achievement to be feeding that proportion of primary children.
Yes, that's very true. And from our map, I can say it's only about 2 districts that are not benefiting from Mary's Meals. So you can see how the map of Malawi is laid out. Only 2 districts are not benefiting, but the rest are really benefiting from Mary's Meals each and every day.
Absolutely. One of the things I've loved when I've been able to visit Malawi is that the Mary's Meals mug that we serve our vitamin-enriched pala or porridge in can be seen on roadsides everywhere, with kids getting to school with the mug in hand, ready to receive their meal. So it's fantastic to hear that it's grown that much. Just a little bit about the pandemic, and we'll try to get beyond that quite quickly, because we've talked a lot about it, but I'm sure people will be interested to know just the status of COVID-19 in Malawi and how it's affecting the country. I understand that, very sadly, 2 cabinet ministers in Malawi, the highest level of government, actually died from COVID, which was a big shock within the country. How badly has the country in general been affected by COVID-19?
I think the whole nation has really been affected in a negative way, I can say, because businesses were they were brought to a halt abruptly, and even in the education sector, I'm sure you've seen our reports how we've stopped in-feeding in primary schools and how a lot of things have changed. People are working from home, businesses are not as they were, and kids have been out of school for a very long time. But I'm just hoping that pretty soon things will stabilize and life will get back to normal.
Yeah. And are the cases at the moment of COVID-19 in Malawi, are they going through a spike, or are they going through a lull? In the UK, we've thankfully seen things start to enter a bit of a downward slope. Is there a spike going on in Malawi right now, or is it okay? Is it getting better?
Comparing to, say, 2 months ago, the cases have really dropped enormously. And like for the past 24 hours, we've only had 14 new cases and 12 recoveries. But if we're talking of January, February, the cases were quite high. The numbers were quite high each and every day. And even the number of deaths were quite high. Well, so it's really improving, yeah.
Hopefully it will just continue on that trend for every reason. One of the very contentious issues, as I'm sure you well know, Naomi, around COVID-19 at the moment is the vaccine and its supply within the developing world. And how does the world make sure that there's equitable distribution of vaccines? I understand that some vaccine doses have now arrived in Malawi. How is the rollout of the vaccine going there? And presumably it's at a very early stage with quite a low proportion of the population inoculated.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I can say I'm really glad that we've managed to have the vaccines rolled out in this country, and quite a number of people have managed to get vaccinated. Not a large number, I can say, but quite a few people have managed to get vaccinated, and I'm just hoping come the second phase, it will be much better. A lot of people want to get vaccinated because this thing is not just about protecting oneself, but it's thinking of the other person who you interact with and the nation at large.
Absolutely. No, completely agree. And in terms of the school feeding program, we, you know, everybody who's watching probably knows, if they've tuned into our previous family hours, that throughout last year we had to find new ways of delivering Mary's meals. And in parts of the world, schools have been able to reopen, and we've been able to go back to our ordinary model of school feeding. That's not yet the case in Malawi, is it? Schools are still, unfortunately, currently closed. How is that looking in terms of the possibility of schools reopening fairly soon, or is it still a while off? And would you mind just reminding everybody how it is that we're feeding the children at this moment when schools are closed?
Okay, schools have resumed, but we're not doing in school feeding. Kids are not eating at school, but Mary's Meals has come through, and we are distributing flour to each and every child who goes to school so that their parents can prepare at home. So children have been getting a chance to eat before they come to school. And I can say our team here in Malawi is very great, and we have been coordinating very well. The school feeding officers, they've been right on the ground, making sure each and every child who goes to school is able to receive the flour that they deserve.
Excellent. So I've misunderstood that then. Schools are back open now, but we're just not being able to go ahead with feeding in school. Okay. And so does that mean that gives me much more hope that maybe soon we'll be able to be back to providing meals in school too, if they've actually been able to reopen the schools? Is that optimism justified? Do you expect that will be able to happen again soon, or is it a way off?
Personally, I'm hoping schools in school feeding will resume very soon, because at the moment we've had a few examples whereby some restrictions that were put in place because of COVID have been lessened. Like businesses will be able to open until 10 p.m. Even bars will be closing at midnight. So if other things can go ahead and life can be normal, why can't kids be able to eat in primary schools, and why can they be feeding at school rather than giving them food that they can consume at home? So I'm just hoping that maybe in the next month or so, the government will decide that children can start eating at school again.
Great. Well, fingers crossed for that. And your role, Naomi, as you said at the top of this, is so often about getting out to visit schools and speaking to children and parents and volunteers and teachers about their lives and the effect that Mary's Meals can have on their lives once we introduce our meals. I imagine it must have been over this last year a real wrench for you to not have that kind of physical closeness to the communities that you're normally visiting.
Yes, it's been more than a year now, I can say, because we closed in March and we haven't been able to go to the field since March last year. And it hasn't been the same, because when you go in the field, you get to talk to the students, to talk to the volunteers, even the teachers, just to get a real glimpse of what the feeding program is doing to their lives and in the communities. But now it's just, we are collecting case studies, yes, but it's not still the same, because we're not really able to get to understand what a child goes through each and every day, that they get to go to school on a hungry stomach, but they're able to eat Mary's Meals porridge.
Yeah, and the main thing, of course, is that we're still finding a way to get the meals to them. But that must be tough for you. And the fact that you've not been out to the schools for quite a long time. Have you been thinking about different children that you've met over this last period? And I wonder if maybe you could just share. I don't know if there's a particular child that you would like to share a story about who you've met, whose background or how Mary's Meals has benefited them. It's really kind of touched you or resonated with you.
Yeah, I can remember a few case studies and a few children that I've met in the field, whereby they only rely on Mary's Meals each and every day. You know how their parents are not able to give them all the meals of the day, say breakfast, lunch, or dinner. But the fact that they go to school, they can really hope and look forward to something throughout the day. And when I look back and think that right now they're just home, even if they receive that proportion that we get them, I don't think it's still there right now. And it really breaks my heart to think, okay, maybe if they were still feeding in school, they would have been guaranteed that there was food each and every day, even if there was nothing at home. But what if whatever they received is finished now? It means they're still going hungry and we're not serving the purpose that we are there for.
Yeah, yeah, no, absolutely. And just to finish off, is there any particular message that you would like to give to those people who are watching, primarily in the UK, but there might be some other countries as well, who support Mary's Meals? Anything that you would like to directly say to them, Naomi, from Malawi?
Okay, to all the supporters abroad and wherever we are really grateful for the work, for the support they give Mary's Meals. And I can really say we really haven't reached all the children that we want to reach. There's still more work to be done, and there are still more children who are looking forward to Mary's Meals each and every day across Malawi. And I'm just hoping come next year or in the next 5 years, we'll be feeding all the primary schools in Malawi. And that would be a really positive change for the children of Malawi and the nation.
Absolutely. No, thank you, Naomi. And I know that people have really enjoyed your contribution tonight and hearing directly from you out there in the warm heart of Africa. Hopefully, it'll not be that long before we can visit with you again there. I really miss being out in Malawi, so I hope to see you again before too long.
I hope so, and I'm looking forward to
that. Thank you. Zikomo Kwambiri.
Zikomo.
Bye, Naomi.
Bye.
Fantastic. Thanks so much to Naomi there. And having heard so eloquently there from Naomi in one of the countries where we are delivering our daily meals, next we're just going to turn our attention back to here in the UK, where we're raising awareness and funds for those countries in which we serve our meals. So to chat to a few supporters now about their love of the Mary's Meals mission and their fantastic efforts to support this vital and life-changing work of ours, I'm pleased to introduce my colleague, Emma Hutton. I think Emma's just joining us now. She is. Hello, Emma. I think you're on mute, which is the curse of Zoom. But how are you?
I'm fine. How are you?
Yeah, not too bad at all. Just to give you your proper intro for everybody, Emma is our head of grassroots engagement, which means that she leads the relatively small team in comparison to its task, which is to nurture and support our grassroots volunteer and donor network across the whole of England, Scotland, Wales, and Northern Ireland. So Emma's going to chat to a few of our amazing supporters just now, and I'll leave it to you, Emma. Over to you.
Thanks a lot, Daniel. So good evening, everyone, and hope you're well in your various parts of the UK or wherever you might be. So as Daniel said, I am the head of grassroots engagement here at Mary's Meals, and I'm based in Glasgow. In my role, I have the great privilege of leading the supporter engagement team, and our role is to engage with schools, churches, groups, individual supporters and volunteers all across the UK. And, you know, we try to encourage and support all of these wonderful supporters to raise funds and awareness of Mary's Meals. So I want to say a huge thank you to all our hardworking and loyal volunteers who do such a fantastic job of helping Mary's Meals become better known in their local communities. This incredible support has not only continued through the pandemic, but has increased. And we're always welcoming more and more volunteers and volunteer groups into the Mary's Meals family. Volunteers are at the very heart of what we do as part of our global movement, and our small staff team is here to support and serve the volunteers, and we simply couldn't do this work without you all. From the admin volunteers helping in our offices, warehouse and shops volunteers organising donations, our community volunteers and groups who run fundraising events, to the thousands of volunteers in our programme countries who prepare and serve meals to the children in schools. Without this wonderful support, Mary's Meals simply wouldn't be able to keep our promise to feed children in some of the poorest communities in the world. And we'd love for more of you to join us as volunteers and use your skills and passion to make a positive difference to help us reach more hungry children. We've created a lovely video with some of our volunteers talking about why they're so passionate about what they do for Mary's Meals. And you can find this on our website in the volunteering section. And if you'd like to know more, please do get in touch. I'd now like to introduce two of these wonderful volunteers so you can hear from them firsthand about some of the incredible things they do for Mary's Meals. By the magic of Zoom, they shall hopefully appear. Hi, John.
Hello.
So we have John here, and hopefully we'll be joined by one more of our volunteers. Yes, here is Beverly. So hi there. Just to introduce you before we have a chat. So we have here Beverly Saltashak, who is a volunteer for us in Dunoon in the west coast of Scotland, and John McKenna, who is a volunteer in County Tyrone in Northern Ireland. So good evening to you both.
Evening. Good evening.
Good to have you here. So we'd love to hear a little bit about your experience of volunteering with Mary's Meals. So first off, Beverly, can you tell us about how you first became involved as a volunteer with Mary's Meals and what it is that you do as part of your role?
Okay. Well, I first became involved when I came to live in Scotland about 5-6 years ago, and I read The Shed, and it made a lot of sense to me. And so that's when I sort of started getting involved, and I do various things. I mean, mainly fundraising, sort of all sorts of afternoon teas, music events, knitted items, beetle drives, various things that we've done to raise money. And I also do things like taking stuff to the shops and the warehouse now and then if people need stuff taken, because we haven't got a shop here. So yeah.
So it sounds like a very, very varied role and experience you've had.
Yeah.
What would you say you enjoy most about volunteering?
I think it's such a simple message. I think it's and so people understand it. It makes sense, and also anybody can participate. 8 pence for a meal. So a child can provide that out of their pocket money. So every little helps, and so I think that's the pleasure, is that you can actually involve lots of people in it, and you're not looking at, I mean, obviously the more money we get the better, but you're not sort of looking at thousands of pounds necessarily.
Absolutely, and you're great at encouraging members of the local community to do that and to get involved. Thank you,
We've got a very good local community.
Yeah. Fantastic. So John, what about yourself? How did you first get involved, and what is it you do in your volunteer role?
Hello, all the way from Northern Ireland. I was going to greet you with some Malawian as well, but I thought I would just flabbergast you with Northern Irish.
I'd be very impressed.
Northern Irish is equally confusing. So I've been involved, I guess, for about 5 years. Similar to Beverly, I read the Shed book. I haven't finished a book, or hadn't finished a book, since I was 12 years old, and it took me 2 years to finish it, but I did finish it. So I knew at that stage there was something really different about Mary's Meals, and not only was it interesting and very, very humble, but it's just struck me it was such a simple, efficient and effective way to make a difference, and that's what appealed to me, I guess.
Brilliant. Yeah, it's great. The book is such a great introduction. It strikes a chord with a lot of people, doesn't it?
Yeah, it's amazing.
And so what would you say you enjoy most about your role then?
So I guess, I mean, one of the things for me as a volunteer is we have loads of resources available to us online and support, and we've got our support engagement officers. But it's really up to us as locals and as local groups to choose what we want to do, to choose the area that we feel most comfortable with. Yeah. I do a fair bit of talking anyway, but so I talk to different types of groups, like companies, to schools, to different types of, maybe even some of our own groups. I work with different ones in bringing some ideas and initiatives and connecting some organizations and companies with groups, because we have a lot of autonomy in our local groups to do what they feel most suits them, and whether it's online, whether it's offline, whether it's coffee mornings, or increasingly these days, events like walks, for example.
Yeah, and there's a very big walk that takes place in Northern Ireland, isn't there? It has been taking place for a number of years. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah, it's a bit like Naomi's story in Malawi. The same sort of scale of growth has happened. The chair of Mary's Meals Ireland decided to do a walk from, there was a lady at the bottom of Ireland and she wanted to walk around the whole island. And they said, well, why don't we just meet you? We're at the top and we'll meet you about halfway. And halfway was Knock. And she said, after that, that's enough for me. I've had it. And they said, no, we loved it. So we're going to do it again the following year. So they started another walk coming over from Dublin. And then a couple of years later, coming up from the south. And then 3 years ago, we started infill walks from different areas to connect some of the groups, because we're blessed with a lot of support in Northern Ireland. And we have kind of our spiritual capital in Armagh, where we have our own backpack centre, and Pauline is the mother of us all there. But we walked from there, and then some of the other groups, they wanted to join in, so we added another day on and another day on. So it's good fun. It's a bit of a challenge, all right, but more to the point, it's kind of like a solidarity for a lot of us. Yeah. To walk the same way as these kids would walk to school to get their meal. We're walking together to try and generate awareness and support for it, and get some funds. But amazingly, we talk about, never lose the benefit or the opportunity of a crisis. And so last year we were meeting and we were doing it by Zoom, and we're going to get to walk this year, and some people were unsure, and maybe we could, maybe we couldn't. It's amazing, our numbers just went through the roof, because lots of people actually were out walking anyway and had started walking, and we managed to tap into that and said, would you like to do it for a cause? And it doesn't take very much. That's the thing, with the 93% efficiency of Mary's Meals, 93p of every pound going straight to charitable activities. There's extremely little wastage. It does us a detriment in some respects, because we don't spread the message as much as we would like. So we do really want everybody to spread that. But there's nothing that beats a crowd of blue shirts coming along the street or a road or whatever, and people saying, what's this about? And it's almost like, come join us. But
you all do an amazing job, and it just sounds incredible. It was your biggest year ever for the walk last year, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Fantastic.
We I think we broke €100,000 across all the walks in Ireland.
That's quite something. That's a lot of really, children fed.
Yeah. But that's just a couple of years.
On that. Oh, brilliant. So, Beverly, you in Dunoon, you and your community do a lot of kind of events, and have been running all sorts of activities for Mary's Meals. So you're very experienced. So do you have any advice for other supporters or volunteers who might want to do some fundraising activities? Anything you've learned over the years, what works well, anything you'd like to share?
Okay. Well, we have a sort of target to feed 100 children every year. And I think for me, that really helps, because we know that we're aiming to raise 1,590. We always do more than that, but at least we kind of know we got a target. It keeps us online. So, yeah, I mean, I think it's just plugging into what suits your community. Like John says, we're kind of able to do whatever suits us in our local areas. So so kind of identifying that, and identifying kind of what local resources you've got, whether you've got knitters, or whether you've got a school that's that wants to be involved, or whether you've got sort of musicians, whether you've got people who are just willing to bake and serve teas. I mean, that's just wonderful. We use the local paper quite a lot. Inner Wheel here is very good. They support us in lots of ways, participating in things and raising money. So yeah, I think just involve as many people as you can, really, I think, and keep people engaged.
It's an incredible approach that works, and there's some chats on the YouTube chat. People are saying you're inspiring and you're both amazing, and all the volunteers and supporters that work with you. equally amazing, and just well done to all of you. It's just fantastic.
Thank you.
What would you say is the most rewarding aspect of your volunteer role? John.
Mine. Oh, John.
Either of you. John, what would you say?
For me, it's making that little bit of difference. I was very lucky to get to see some of the schools that we feed in Zambia 18 months ago, and the thing that I really like about it is that all we're doing is providing a little bit of food. It's grown locally by the local farmers. We buy it off them, and it's fed to their children by their mothers and grandparents and the community support groups. So it's really, really a community effort. But being able to see that difference was quite unique for me. Whenever you see them queuing up and they'll walk for ages to come and get this food. And we had a couple of question and answer sessions, and 2 little girls in Tepper schools asked the same question. And I, at the second time, said, why are they asking that question? Why are they asking us, how long are you going to do this for? Have people let them down before, or what's their fear? And despite the fact that this meal might be the only thing they get to eat in the day, or they might not get anything from Friday, therefore through to Monday, the reason the girls were asking that question was because they had siblings still wanting to come to school, to school, and they wanted to know, could they get this meal as well? Could they get, and the education that comes out of it, and the feeling of the community support. So whenever we realised that, like a pound at home can do very little, but a pound can feed a kid over there and get them to go to school for 2.5 weeks. So, the little difference that we can make, and that's the amazing thing about Mary's Meals, a difference a pound can make. And if you give a pound, this is brilliant. If you ask somebody else to give a pound, not only are you giving your pound, but they're giving a pound as well, so it doubles. And the third thing is, if you can actually get involved, if you can do whatever it is that you want, and that's the great thing, is, as everybody says, there's so many opportunities. It's left locally up to us to feel what we want to do. But trying to encourage others to get involved, your friends, your family, and have fun out of it. It's really, really simple, and it's really very easy to make a difference.
Yeah, well, and you are absolutely, and it's really inspiring. It's great. What an incredible opportunity that you got to go to Zambia and see the work firsthand. That's incredible. That must be powerful.
Yeah.
And
very.
What about yourself, Beverly? What would you say is the most rewarding aspect of volunteering?
What more can I say? I think it is fun. It's enjoyable. I think it's great to kind of get community together to do things. I think that's very rewarding. And then in the process of doing that, raising money for Mary's Meals and, like you say, making that difference. So I think for me, it's that almost. It's the kind of the community thing. It's the fact that we all get together to do this, and in doing that, support children to go to school and give them some chance in life.
Yeah, and as you say, bringing community together, but actually, having some fun while you're doing it, and it has to be fun, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Sometimes, holding a bucket on a cold, rainy day, collecting maybe isn't the most fun. Just want to say thank you so much to both of you for joining us tonight and sharing your stories of volunteering, and thank you for all that you do. I'm going to pass back to Daniel just now. Thanks a lot, Beverly and John.
Cheers.
Thanks, John and Beverly. Bye. Emma, can I just check before you go? That's definitely a fake Zoom background, and you've not just got the most annoyingly stylish house in the world. No,
I do. I have the Scandi living room. It's a picture taken off the IKEA website. Nice.
Very, very smart.
Thanks for giving away my secrets, Daniel.
Well, it's a tip for people watching. If they've got nothing else out of tonight, they know to go to the IKEA website. That was great, and so great to hear from Beverly and John. I loved how emphatic John was about the difference a pound could make with Mary's Meals. So again, if nobody takes anything else away from tonight, that's a good message.
Well, and that you have to get a pound from someone else as well.
Yeah, exactly. Great, thank you, Emma. Have a good night.
Thanks,
See you later.
Bye.
Fantastic. So thanks so much to Emma there, and to Beverly and to John. Now, I mentioned earlier that we've got a new initiative in the offing, which is called Pray in May. And to talk to me a little about both herself and also about that campaign, Pray in May, I'm pleased to now welcome Suzanne Stevenson, who is our Head of Communications. Hi, Suzanne.
Hello, good evening.
How are you?
Good, thank you. Yes, spring is springing, can't complain.
Absolutely. I'm just checking out your background now because we've just been laughing at Emma's fake IKEA background, but yours is real.
Mine is very real, yes. Nothing Scandinavian or about this background.
Very good. So, Suzanne, from a Mary's Meals point of view, you're kind of one of the very rare plus points of the pandemic, in that you're kind of a glimmer of light within the darkness, because when we were recruiting for Joanne, our head of comms maternity cover last year, the fact that we've been working remotely during the pandemic rather than in our Glasgow office convinced us to cast the net a wee bit wider than we usually do for a role like this, and we welcomed you to our team. And of course, you're based in London, where we do actually have a few other members of staff, but not ones who are normally doing this type of role. So can you maybe just tell us a wee bit about how you first heard about Mary's Meals down in London? And I suppose we're going to start to talk about Pray in May, so connect it to that somehow.
Indeed. Yeah, so I first heard about Mary's Meals a couple of years ago through my local church in Putney, southwest London. And I was at Mass one day, and there was a group of young people at the end that made an announcement about Mary's Meals backpack project. And many children receiving Mary's Meals don't have basic items for school, such as pencils and notepads. So we have this project, of course, that people can help by donating a backpack of useful items. And these young people were just really enthusiastic about the importance of this project for the children that would benefit. It just really touched me and inspired me. So the next day I went out and bought a backpack and started filling it with lots of things. And as I was sort of wandering around the stationery shop at the time, I found myself imagining the child that would use this backpack, and just wondering how life was for them, and about their hopes and their dreams. And it just seemed a very practical way to offer that support. And I know from my own experience traveling in developing countries such as Ghana and India, just how precious things like pencils and notebooks are, items that we in the UK can sometimes take for granted because there's so many of them. So yeah, I think it's just really wonderful from that experience, just how so many churches support Mary's Meals and do so much for our work. It's just fantastic.
Absolutely. And let me just, off the back of you talking about the backpack project, again, just plug the fact that from next week, our backpack warehouse is reopening. So we're again able to accept backpacks that are going to be able to be sent out to Malawi. But so following on from that, tell us a wee bit more about Pray in May. I've mentioned it a few times tonight, but not really said exactly what the thinking is behind it. So could you just explain that a little bit and how people can get involved?
Yes, indeed. So as many people know, Mary's Meals is named after Mary, the mother of Jesus. And from the very beginning of our work, prayer has always had a very special and important place. And prayer is right at the heart of this new campaign that we're launching next month called Pray in May. And throughout that month, we'll be inviting people of faith, as well as churches and faith groups, to pray with us and to bless our work, so that it continues to flourish and to grow. And we're currently feeding 1.8 million children around the world, and we want to reach even more children over the coming years. So we hope people will join in and pray for our work. I should say, of course, that whilst we recognise that faith has a very important and prayer, very important place in our work, Mary's Meals is, of course, a very inclusive organisation. We consist of respect and reach out to people of all faiths and none, and people are welcome to support our work in any way they choose, whether that's praying or volunteering or making a donation, completely open to them.
Absolutely. No, it's a really important point that we recognise some people may not want to participate in this campaign, while lots more will. And the month of May, special historically as a month, particularly for Catholics, I suppose, to honour Mary, the Mother of Jesus, during that time. So it's a really, really nice time of the year to do this type of campaign. What resources have we made available then to people who want to get involved in Pray in May? Where can they find out more, and what's available for them to see?
Indeed. Yeah, so we've got a whole variety of resources to support people to pray in May. So they include prayer guides. We've got our existing Mary's Meals prayer card. We'll have some Holy Hour devotions as well for churches that are looking to host those. And we'll soon be producing a new faith-based gift card as well. So all those resources will be available on our website. So we've got marysmeals.org/pray in May. So yeah, great. People could take a peek and check out the resources there.
Excellent, very well plugged. I like it. Thank you, Suzanne. And anything else, or is that you?
No, just a happy spring to everyone, and here's to the easing of restrictions and return to some kind of normality very soon.
Hear, hear. Thank you so much.
Thanks very much.
Cheers, Suzanne. Great. Just wanted to check in before we go, and it looks like we're going to finish just slightly ahead of time for the first time ever, which people in our team will be really amazed by, because I'm usually talking too much to make that possible. But just before we do end, I just wanted to go through the list of places who have joined us tonight. This is always exciting. So we've got some people in Arran, Glasgow, Belfast, Nairn, Paisley, Watford, London, Marlow, Hemel Hempstead, East Renfrewshire, Southgate, Edinburgh, Reading, Walsall, West Yorkshire, St Helens, and probably some more places too that I've not mentioned. So sorry that I missed you out, but thank you so much for joining us, particularly when it's been a really nice day weather-wise in the UK. So I'm sure we'll get more views for our family hour tonight when this isn't live and people can watch it back. But that it makes it even more special that you've decided to join even when it's lovely outside. And one comment I just noticed on our live chat was in response to John's segment, and Brian said, "Great to see someone flying the flag for Northern Ireland." The flag, I believe Northern Ireland is the only country in the world that has flags, not flags. So thanks for that, Brian. I'm sure John will appreciate that wee comment from a fellow Northern Irishman. So that really just brings us to the end of our first Mary's Meals UK Family Hour of 2021. As ever, please do just let us know if you have any feedback you'd like to share with us. You can email us at any time at info@marysmeals.org. That's info@marysmeals.org. And just to say thank you to Naomi, who joined us from Malawi, to Emma, to Beverly, to John, and to Suzanne for all joining in with the Family Hour tonight. And just a thank you also to David and to Steph and to the rest of our communications team who've been working diligently in the background. Please do join in with Pray in May if you would like to. As Suzanne was saying, Mary's Meals is, of course, open to everyone, regardless of their beliefs. So prayer may not be your thing, but if it is, please do support us in storming heaven during the month of May on behalf of children and communities around the world who are living their lives afflicted by hunger, poverty, conflict, and trauma. Thanks for everything you're doing to support Mary's Meals, which is, of course, enabling us to reach more and more queues of hungry children who are waiting for us. Please visit our website to learn more if you'd like to do that. If you don't know lots already, you can also make a donation on our website, or indeed you can set up a regular gift to Mary's Meals. And I always like to just highlight that whatever the size of a regular gift to Mary's Meals, whether it's small or large, people who choose to give regularly to our work on a monthly basis, they really help Mary's Meals in a particular way, because they help us to efficiently plan our expansions, because we can rely on certain amounts of income, again, whether it's small or large, and that allows us to better plan to keep our promise of nutritious daily meals to the 1.8 million children already enrolled in our programs. 1.8 million. That is very, very close to another big milestone for Mary's Meals, isn't it? 1.8. The work of Mary's Meals is all about focusing just on reaching the next child, one step at a time, one child at a time, one meal at a time. But dare we dream that our 2 million milestone is on the horizon, that it's approaching sometime soon? Well, with supporters like you, we do dare to dream. Thank you, God bless you, and good night.